Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Faith Talks with Cassandra Faye Wilson. I don't know if it's too late or not, but Happy New Year to each and every one of you. I hope your 2025 is starting out with the prosperity, favor, and mercy of God already operating and manifesting in each and every area of your life. Today I want to come and I want to talk a little bit about perspective. And the perspective angle that I'm going to be coming from today is the perspective of how we receive things when we're going through trials, tribulations, and situations that life may bring on. One of the things that the enemy job, totally, the enemy job is to steal, kill, and destroy. And how does the enemy steal, kill, and destroy our lives or destroy us as people? He does that in a numerous number of ways, from people close to us being betraying us, to job loss, to moving and just causing all kind of havoc in your life to happen. One of the things that led me to this particular message, I was reading through just the book of Esther, and I also been reading through the book of Job. And one of the things that I have really been meditating on lately is really hiding the word of God in my heart. I don't know if you're like me, but for me, when I go through trials, tribulations, and situations, I know what the word of God is. I know what the word of God says. I know what I should be seeking. But sometimes in the midst of that, those emotions will try to override what you know the word of God says and try to have you in a place of fear. Try to have you in a place of constantly thinking and replaying situations in your mind. And that's not the place that you want to be. But what I have learned and what I have been discovering, the more I read and meditate on the word, and I ask the Father to hide that word in my heart so that I am able to use that word if I don't need it right now in that moment, to save it as ammunition that I'm going to need later on and for another battle on another battlefield. But let's get to the story of Esther. A lot of times we think when it comes to the favor of God that there's something that we have to do to make the favor of God move and operate in our life. That is not the case. As I have been reading through Esther and as I've been reading through of the stories, the favor of God is just the favor of God. It's just something that God has for you, that's on you, and he operates and manifests it in your life. There is nothing that you have to do outside of being obedient, ensuring that you're seeking God, ensuring that you're reading your word, ensuring that you're living out Jesus and you're being and demonstrating Jesus each and every day of your life with each and every person that encounters you. That's all that it takes for that favor of God, and also faith. So we got to have that faith. I know a lot of people struggle with this area of having that faith. And sometimes, the enemy really causes a lot of havoc, and it makes you forget who you are and whose you are. But in the process of me meditating on the word of God and hiding it in my heart, I make sure daily to focus on who I am and whose I am. Because that way, if every day I wake up and seek the kingdom and seek the word and read what the word says and who the word says that I am, that way I can keep it hidden in my heart so I don't have to worry about when I'm going through those storms, I'll forget what I need to do and I forget my posture. The posture is always to remain in a posture of victory. No matter what the circumstance or the situation looks like, God is going to bring victory in every area of your life. Victory can look a lot of different ways, but if you want to see the true hand and the true victory of God, remain steadfast, seek God, pray the word over your situation, also remain faithful and build your faith up in that area. And you build your faith up just by reading the scriptures. And remember, the book is just, they were everyday people like us, but they were obedient people who wanted to see God move in their life, who had a fear and a a reverence for God and know that God was over all things. This is the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings who we're talking about. This is the God of all, the God that created us and formed us from dirt and blew his breath into our body, blew the ruach of God into our body, into our lungs for us to live, to breathe, to live, to wake up another day. So any day that you wake up and you truly got that breath of life of God in you, just know that this is another day that God can bring a victory. And sometimes this is where we get in trouble at. We want to manifest what the victory of God is going to look like in our life. God don't need our help. He does not need our help to manifest what the victory looks like, because the word already tells us God sees every problem before the problem even happened in our lives. He just wants to know, how are we going to come in partnership with him? So what I've been learning, come in partnership with God and his word. Like, God, you already know what problems I'm going through today. You already know my heart desires, my heart thoughts. You know the things that I'm meditating on in my mind. It's up to you to take those burdens to God and give them to him. Because as his word says, God says, bring to me all your burdens. Those of you who are heavy laden with burdens, bring them to him. And God will give you peace. And I have truly, trying to get tripped up. Forgive me, you guys. But I have truly learned to lean in on the peace of God, because life can take you through some things. The enemy can attack you in so many various different ways, because he's trying to kill your prayer life. He's trying to kill you from getting in the word of God. He's trying to make you lose faith that God is not thinking about you. But God has never forgotten about us, and he never will forget about us. It's just sometimes when we're going through the situation in the storm, he's given us a book full of all that we need when we go through. So God is looking like, I've gave you the manual you need. Seek the manual. Do what the manual tells you to do. Read through your manual. So sometimes what seems like God is not there, or God does not hear what we're saying, or God does not hear for our situation, it's just we have the wrong perspective, and we're not using the manuscript that he has given us for life. The manuscript that's our airway, that's our airline, that's going to keep us in the midst of things that we're going to go through, because the posture is to remain and hold fast to the faith. But I also want to get into this story of Esther and King Xerxes. King Xerxes was the king at that time, and Esther found favor in the sight of King Xerxes. And this was all because of Vashti. Vashti was the queen prior to Esther finding the favor with King Xerxes. And with Esther, because Vashti did not find... got a little mixed up, you guys. But because Vashti, the king called for Vashti to come, right? And she did not come. So that gave an impression, and they started, as people do, they started talking, saying, okay, well, she's doing this. She's going to make all of the wives feel like they can be disobedient when it comes to their husband telling them something to do. So they came up with, let's seek for a new queen. So what this also tells me, number one, if you're not willing to do what it takes to get to where you need to be, and you're not in the right position when God calls and needs you, he'll replace you. He'll replace you. And that's exactly what happened to Vashti. She was replaced because of her disobedience. But also, that shows you how the favor of God worked. Esther was not even looking for this favor of God. She was just given instructions where to report, where to go, what to do. And when it was her turn to come up before King Xerxes, she found the favor in him just as he was looking at her. It was nothing in particular that she did other than being obedient. That's all that she did. She followed the obedience that God had called her to follow, and she found that favor of God in the midst of being obedient. So I don't know about you, but how many of us have not been obedient to something God has called and told us to do? God does not want our excuses. He don't care what's going on in our life. You have to push through and do what God says. Even if you don't feel like it, push through. Even if you don't have the faith, keep speaking it until you have the faith faith to push through. Even if it don't seem like it's going to come to pass, you still have to push through and know that it shall come to pass. It's just in a process. It's a process before it come to pass. So I want to tell you guys that too, just to encourage you. I'm super hyped and excited about this word. But back to Esther and finding the favor in King Xerxes. Finding the favor with King Xerxes. So as the story goes on, and I'm paraphrasing, so please forgive me. As the story goes on, there was an order sent out by Haman. Haman was the second in command under King Xerxes. And he sent out an order basically saying that all the Jews could be killed and set a date in a day that they were going to kill the Jews. As you may not know, but Esther was a Jew, and it was in her heart that she wanted to do something for her people. So she came up with, well, she didn't come up with it by herself. Mordecai, who is her father figure at this time, who took on raising Esther. Mordecai was the one who brought the order and was able to get the order to Esther to let her know what was going on for the Jews and what they were looking at outside the kingdom, because she was in the palace at this point. So he told her what was going on and what they had planned, what Haman had planned to do for the Jews, which was to destroy and to kill them. He had sent out this big order. It was going across all the provinces. So it was really major. So in the midst of Esther finding that favor, she used her favor because she was queen. She didn't just barge up in there and demand that the king give her what she wanted. She postured herself in humility. She postured herself in obedience, and she used her position to be and to work where the favor of God covered and graced her. But in the end, Haman, who was the second in charge that put out the order for the Jews to be assassinated or to be killed, he also had a thing against Mordecai. And as I mentioned, Mordecai was Esther's father figure in this story. So with Mordecai, he had planned all of this to hang and kill Mordecai in this story. But that night before, it just so happened that King Xerxes couldn't sleep that night. So something woke him up, and he wanted to go through the book of deeds of people who had did good deeds. And it was found that Mordecai was listed in the book of good deeds, but they don't ever remember honoring or doing anything for him for the deed that he did, because he was the one that sent word to King Xerxes that two people under his empire were looking to assassinate him. So this gave King Xerxes the upper hand to stop the plan of the enemy before it even happened. So it just so happened at the same time that Haman had planned to have Mordecai hung and killed was the same time that God was sending a disturbance to interrupt King Xerxes, where he could not sleep, and he woke up and wanted to read through this book, and that favor that God had already for Mordecai came into the heart of King Xerxes. So next thing that happens at the empire, at the palace, Haman had already got with his wife and made up this plan of how he was going to hang Mordecai. But it came and King Xerxes said, hey, if there was somebody that we needed to honor, basically King Haman gave what he would want or what he would do for somebody as honor. And Haman had to walk out that honor and do what he said do, and not miss anything, as the order said from King Xerxes, not to miss anything now. And he had to perform that favor of God for Mordecai, the same man that he had already plotted to kill. Can you imagine? You worried and thinking about something, and God already done sent favor to somebody else, and then that favor of your enemy got to show up for you. That's a whole word right there. But in the end, Haman ended up tables turned. Haman was actually the one who ended up being hung. Also, Haman's 10 sons were hung as well. The order that was in place for the Jews, because of the favor on Esther and what Mordecai did, they were able to turn and change the hands and the fate that had been dealt by the enemy for their people, which were the Jews. They were able to do something miraculous. They were able to see the favor of God, not just for them, but for those, their family, their people that were around them. And in the end, Esther, like I said, she was already the replacement queen for Vashti. Then we see Mordecai. Mordecai ends up being promoted to that same second in commandment position that Haman had. Can you imagine the enemy thinking he got the upper hand on you and to set up all of this strife for your life to kill you? And then the enemy got a bow to the favor of God on your life, and then the tables turn, and you in the upper hand, and you in the position now, and your enemy is destroyed. Man, imagine how many times we have gone through life trying to take care of our own situations, thinking in our own mind, worried about what's this gonna happen, how's this gonna happen, when all we gotta do is posture ourselves to hear God, to seek God, to read his instruction, the Bible, the word of God, and meditate on it and hide it in our hearts. I know it sounds so simple, but it's not as simple as it sounds. But that's why I want to hop on and give a word just for encouragement. With this channel, that's one of the things that I am all about, encouraging you. Because sometimes as we're going through these life situations and life problems, people tell you, oh, you're going to go through things in life. But do they break down what those things in life that you go through look like? Do they break down the things that you're going to go through in life look like job loss? The things that you're going to go through in life look like you're not able to run and do your business that God has called you to do, because everything that you have and the resources that you have for that business, the enemy has attacked. Do anybody tell us what do we do and how do we go through those things when literally your life is dependent upon what's going on in your surroundings? But still, somewhere deep down, you got to still find that faith and know that God is about to show up in your situation. Sometimes we look at trials and tribulations and things that we're going through like, what did I do so wrong? Sometimes it's not what you did so wrong. It's the favor that's on you. It's the power and the dominion that you're walking in. It's the love of God, the grace of God that you show. So you have to take time out to self-examine yourself and make sure, am I being obedient to the word of God? Am I being obedient to God? Am I in right posture? Do I not have strife in my heart? Am I not plotting plotting bad things against people around me? Am I not being jealous? So you really have to take account or take note of who you are and what you have going on and realize, is it me? And sometimes in those situations, sometimes it is us, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's nothing we did wrong as believers. Sometimes it's just the fact that you're a believer and you're such a kingdom-like believer that the enemies take notice even in the midst of you done got hit and he still want to come after you. Because at the end of the day, it's all in the mind. Transformation of our mind, renewing our mind. In order for anything to manifest and happen in this earth realm, it starts in our mind. Yes, the enemy has plans and things set up, but those things, God already know about them. God already got them worked out. God just needs you to fall in alignment with his will, fall in alignment with his word, and see the hand of God manifest and be mighty in our life. So I hope that this message encouraged you. I'm giving the message and I got a renewing and I got an extra boost of encouragement flowing through my veins right now. So it is my goal with this channel to just help you to work through and navigate through those problems and situations with the faith that God has given us. You may start out with a mustard seed of faith, but believe you me, as life goes on and as you continue to seek the word of God, to see the hand of God move mighty and strong in your life, your faith is, you're going to go from faith to faith, glory to glory. So I wish you all the best and success. If you